they can't beat the Rams both times this season, how are they going to win a division?
Would be interesting if that happened. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he was sacked 5 times. I said, I think Brady's going to crumble.
How about Thomas Brady, Edward Patrick Jr.?
Cowboys let me down, of course. And welcome to the 3rd episode of Punt Off, where we'll be talking about the NFL games coming up. We'll preview some. We'll go back and talk about the Monday night game that was in Seattle. And here's John Alcorn. You've seen him from across the galaxy here on Iceland. How are you doing, John?
You know, I'm confused, angered, and annoyed after this past week, obviously, with Monday Night Football, and Geno Smith decided to actually play quarterback for the first time in his NFL career. So that was weird. But, I mean, I guess congrats to Seattle. You played your Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned, I think, yesterday on another show. And, yeah, Geno Smith, for the numbers he had, you know, it wasn't, stars numbers, but it was game manageable, and that's all you want. I mean, you're in a game, a lot of pressure's on you. The world's eyes is on you because of Russell Wilson coming back, and let's get into that. So, that game in Seattle at the half, Seattle, I think, just led by 4 at that time, 17-13. Then there was pretty much no other scoring other from Denver getting a field goal in the 4th. I mean, they had so many opportunities, especially in the red zone, John, in that second half to try to score. I think somebody counted it out. It was like 11 times Russell Wilson and the Broncos had a chance to score touchdowns. 11 tries, and they couldn't. All they could do was settle for a field goal. And then, of course, they could not get the 4th down late. So they decided to go for a field goal. And it was the weirdest thing because they let, 30 seconds off of the clock. I think it was 30 or 20. I can't remember. But they let so much time go off the clock before they made that decision on 4th down. And then finally around, 20 seconds, they call timeout. And I'm just thinking to myself, what is going on? Like, why would you waste all that time? And then now that I know what the numbers say, it would have been easier to try for the 4th down instead of the 64-yard field goal. And then the fact that McManus, he never made a field goal from that long before. I think he tried a 62-yarder once or twice and missed. So even though what he did in the warm-ups, you can't translate that to game action for me. So that was a weird decision. So Russell Wilson, McManus missed, by the way, of course, and the Seahawks went on to win by the final 17-16. One of those, head-scratching games for sure. But Wilson coming back, he did throw for 340 yards. He had 1 touchdown, no pick, and 2 sacks. Melvin Gordon on the ground didn't get much. I know Charger fans, the ones out there still, were saying, hey, we don't miss Melvin Gordon all too much. Jerry Jeudy did put up some good numbers, 4 receptions for 102 yards and 1 touchdown. Sutton only had 72 yards receiving, but everybody else didn't really get anything. And then from Seattle, you're not really expecting much. But Geno Smith, 195 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked twice. On the ground, Rashard Penny, you're not expecting much from him either. He got 60 yards there. Receiving-wise, Metcalf had 7 receptions, but only for 36 yards. It was the tight ends, Disley, Parkinson, that had the 2 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett, he only had 3 receptions for 28 yards. I thought I was going to see him do more, and Metcalf as well, but I think they were being sort of conservative. They weren't trying to do too much. The plays that they did hit on was for the tight ends. So, John, I've been waiting to hear what you thought of Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett's play calling. What do you got on Monday night's game?
Nathaniel Hackett they call him Nathaniel Hackett because he's a hack. He's an embarrassment to anyone that wants a chance to be a head coach. You could do better than that freaking idiot Nathaniel Hackett. Geno Smith actually played quarterback. He had a career game. Like, literally, he was drafted in 2013, 9 years in the league. A career game for Geno Smith. Seriously. I mean, this is what I don't understand. They call him PS2 because he played like doo-doo. Where were the other defenders for the Broncos? You know, you actually have to go onto the field and cover the pass. You can cover the run 3 to 4 times in this game. The Broncos were in the red zone. I don't know, Pete Carroll was laughing because you know last time when someone didn't go for it at the goal line, you don't pass, you run. They do the opposite of what Pete Carroll did in that Super Bowl against New England. And what? Both running backs fumbled the football. What? Are you serious? Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. This shouldn't be a shocker when you talk about for Melvin Gordon. I mean, this is the same guy who last year against Kansas City back in January, where obviously your season's already over, yada, yada. Drew Lock played really well with some runs and some throws at the goal line. What does Melvin Gordon do? Fumble the football. And what does this dumb organization do? You re-sign him. You have this one-punch deal, which I have no problem with because, as you know, in this league, we've talked about on the show before, on Punt Off, which would be our sports show title, is perfect for how bad kickers were this week. Is this, like, Geno Smith? Russell Wilson? Really? Geno Smith? And first of all, Nathaniel Hackett, I'm going to put the camera on me for a second. You were in Green Bay with an overrated quarterback in the league right now. Second, over 30 seconds were off the clock. Are you kidding me? Like, the teams, like, we've all played sports games. Whether it's MLB The Show, 2K, Madden, even though this current one is a disgrace to John Madden and his legacy. We always talk about using our timeouts conservatively. I go back to that UT game against A&M, our final game against A&M when Colt McCoy was the quarterback, where they were using their time management. He was looking down the field, and as he throws it immediately, because he looks at the clock and he knows he threw it, and they were reviewing it. There was like 0.2 seconds left or so on the clock. It was insane. Tucker gets the game-winning field goal. It was our last matchup against A&M. Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback there at the time. But the point is, time management. You have 2 to 3 timeouts. A quarterback who won the Super Bowl, been to 2 Super Bowls, 1 playoff games, and you score 16 points. They have nobody on defense. Rashad Penny, I said he was a bust, and he looked like a formidable running back. Kenneth Walker they drafted. Where was DK? Where was Tyler? They had some throws for Geno Smith. You're telling me. Jerry Jeudy is a bust. I'm sorry to tell everybody. You had 2 years. This is your 3rd season in the league. And I'll go to his stats because I think this is really important. When you look at the Broncos offense, and especially who they have, we're tired of the excuses. Just like I'm tired with Marvel and their terrible TV shows recently. Hold your team. If we talk about friends and family, but we also talk about the accountability. He hasn't been held accountable. You talked about a year or 2 ago, oh, I'm going to practice catching the football. I'm going to practice better route running. Well, your first year, 856 yards. Last year, you dipped down 467 yards. You can't say, oh, he didn't have a quarterback. That is a dumb excuse. Neither did DeAndre. Neither did Mike Evans. Neither there's so many other receivers. Did Larry Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly 20 different quarterbacks. You can't use that excuse, especially with the pass-friendly league. No excuse. But it just blows my mind, James. Like, we've seen guys with terrible clock command. You go back to that Cowboys and 49ers playoff game back in January. That was terrible. But I think this is worse because at least in this game, regardless of the implications, there's as much as it's week one, even though it's the Seattle Super Bowl, you had a chance to win the game. You know every single week, whether it's an AFC West opponent or whether it's not, this game is going to matter. And you throw it away. Everyone, if you're watching the Manicast or not, you're like, all right, call a timeout. Call a timeout. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? And I can just see Peyton Manning going insane. And I'm getting frustrated because it's like there is no reason. No, absolute no way. Also, Nathaniel Hackett, stay off the weed. Because clearly you were on something to think 2 to 3 timeouts, and I'm not going to use them. And I think I saw this quote. I'm hoping it's not true by him. Something about how he didn't think about using those timeouts or yada, yada. I'm really hoping that's not true because as I'm trying to find it here, it's just so stupid.
All you can do is move on, I guess, but everybody's going to remember that as your first game coaching.
Especially and how the Chiefs played. They made Arizona look like a middle school football team in their home stadium. So, Nathaniel Hackett, are you serious? Are you flipping kidding me? You don't use if this is how you manage in a meaningless, you can say, week one game, how are you going to handle it when you're in the playoffs? You had 2 to 3 timeouts. You're not Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker set the game-winning NFL record last year, 67 yards. I could get it if you're Justin Tucker, but even if you are Justin Tucker, use your 2 to 3 timeouts. And apparently we have somebody here that thinks that he can roast us.
Oh, boy. Isaiah, get to work, James. We all know you lying, sneaking off work and doing the show in the bathroom. I am home, and I have to go to LA in a couple of hours. So it's like, no, Isaiah, roast session is off. You're like Nathaniel Hackett. You don't know when to use your jokes or your roast. Call timeout, please. Call timeout. Review your life. Get it together, bro.
You play Madden? Really? No, Isaiah. Right.
Oh.
You want to talk all that smack about Madden? Really? Okay. Then let's get a Xbox, get a PlayStation, get a Series X, whatever it is, and we're going to play a game of Madden. Because I am telling you, I would beat you in Madden. I wouldn't even I would mismanage my time like Nathaniel Hackett. But talking about fraud, I mean, look at your sports sticks.
Hell yeah. I mean, I can't believe that. So, unfortunately, go ahead, John.
I was not sorry.
Unfortunately, an injury came out of this game, and it was Jamal Adams, the strong safety of Seattle. He was carted off the field on Monday night. After the game, Pete Carroll mentioned that Adams suffered a serious injury to his quad, and that Adams will have to get more work done. Carroll also saying, I know it's serious and it just breaks your heart. For me, really quick, I look at it at a team perspective where he could have been used as a trade figure. And I don't know how much you would get for him just based on a couple of years, like we mentioned. But at least to get, something out of him would have been good this season. Because I don't know where the direction of Seattle right now. You just don't know which way they're going to go, honestly. But to have him playing would have been beneficial, of course. But now, what is your thoughts on the Jamal Adams injury, John?
Jamal, and I'm looking this up to make sure I say this right. Jamal Adams made the All-Pro 2021. He signed. I don't even think, if I could be wrong, folks, so let me look this up. Did Jamal Adams make the Pro Bowl one time with Seattle. So let's say he made that one time with Seattle, last year or the year before, I can't remember. If that was the case, or someone could look that up to see if I was correct or wrong. That's when you should have traded him. Because I said this also for Seattle, they were in denial for so many years. If I'm being brutally honest, they should have rebuilt when the Legion of Boom disbanded. Like, I'm sorry, because like you go to 2018, you had the number one rushing attack in the league because number one, you had no defense. You had nobody. Bobby Wagner is a phenomenal player, no doubt. But at some point, we talk about the 5 stages of grief. But there's only one that Seattle went through. Denial, 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 denial. That team's best years were behind him after the Legion of Boom. I think you appeared in that playoff against the Dallas Cowboys, and I believe you lost, and you lost against them. Dak Prescott's only playoff win in his career so far. Like, this is what I don't get. I have no problem with them going for Jamal Adams, like I told you before the show. Are we a Super Bowl contender? Are we a couple of players away or one player away from being a true contender? People are questioning, are they going to make the playoffs? So people are questioning, are you going to make the playoffs? It's not because you're hating the team. Because you're looking at where they're at and you should trade for Jamal Adams. Because the problem is one player can only do so much. One player can only cover so much on the field. But, man, I just feel bad for Jamal Adams. I feel like he's just been severely injury-prone since he came to Seattle. I'm glad you got out of New York. I'm glad you got your money, but at what cost? Like, the Jets are worse than Seattle. Seattle has been in denial. I think what really cost them some good years, potentially, or maybe some rebuild or whatever you want to call it, is being in denial of where their franchise is at. John Snyder should have been gone a long time ago. Pete Carroll is reliving the days of the Legion of Boom. This is not me hating. I'm telling you, based on what's happened the past 7 years, since that Super Bowl against New England. Okay, I'll even go to, let's say, 2017 to be generous. 2016, 2017. Almost all of the players are gone besides Bobby Wagner. And a couple other guys you had only played a couple years of the Legion of Boom, and then they retired because they had a perfect system. But systems break, it's the NFL, anything can happen. Now Seattle is screwed. They played in their Super Bowl. I feel bad for Jamal Adams, but like you said, I think you definitely need to look for a trade partner. But I wonder if it's like this Jimmy Garoppolo scenario, not talking the playoffs, but in terms of the guy who has the potential talent is really good when healthy. Keyword, if healthy. And I think it's like they're taking an insurance policy out on him. It's like, how much are you going to get for him at this point? Because on the other side is for Seattle, Pete Carroll, they could either do one or two things. Let Pete Carroll go after the season, or give him an excuse that, hey, we're gonna find his quarterback in this draft, we're gonna build him up, and he's gonna be our guy moving forward. If you can give him that excuse, that's not really valid. But it's just really unfortunate because I think Jamal Adams has the talent. I don't think like we were denying when he's healthy, he's a really, really good player. It's just the injuries really kind of caught up to him. And, man, I saw the way his leg went. I'm like, dude, that leg should not be doing that. That's looking incredibly painful. He was carted off the field. Congrats to Seattle for winning Super Bowl 2022 Week 1. But it's just unfortunate, man. And I'm hoping he'll do – maybe he'll go to, like, a Tampa Bay in the next year or two where he'll be like, well, he signed like a Julio Jones or get some of these other players that are like backups, but just stacking it up. Another one. But honestly, I feel bad for him. But Seattle, I mean, you kind of – I don't necessarily feel bad for him because you've been in denial for so many years that you should have been in rebuild mode.
So Jamal Adams was a Pro Bowler 3 times from 18 to 20. First season with the Seahawks was 2020. First team All-Pro in 2019. Second team twice in 18 and 20. So he's definitely been noticed by his peers, among others. The other injuries we unfortunately saw, of course, was Dak Prescott. You heard all about it. Broken thumb. He needed surgery and had it. He'll probably be out, 6 to 8 weeks. The least is 6. I know there's people out there, like Skip Bayless is saying, hey, when he comes back 6 weeks, at the least, he'll be fine. But why would you throw him out there that, quick? TJ Watt had the pec injury. He's definitely out Sunday's game against New England, but they didn't want to speculate after that. So I think it's probably for me. I think it's at least 2 to 4 games. I'll be honest with you with that one. Najee Harris said his foot is fine. He'll be able to play against New England for the Steelers. Keenan Allen, though, and that's the game today. He has a pulled hamstring. He did it in the first half of the Raider game I was at. I did notice he kind of limped off there. He'll be out today here against the Chiefs in Kansas City. Alvin Kamara had a rib injury in that Saints game, but I think he'll be able to play on Sunday against Tampa Bay. T. Higgins for the Bengals, concussion protocol. He'll have to go through all that to get to play against the Cowboys. So out of those injuries, which one stood out to you?
The Dallas Cowboys one, not because I'm a Dallas Cowboys hater. Skip Bayless is the most delusional man in sports media history. I have no problem with you being a diehard fan. I'm not criticizing you being a Cowboys fan, even though you're being completely delusional about the situation. And I'm not saying this because I want the Cowboys to lose. I think as a franchise, as a team, we've seen so many times over the years where you rush guys back. Nearly 10 years ago, RG3 could have had an amazing career. Rushing back on the field. Look at what happened. His career was over. And the implications were even higher. Playing against the Legion of Boom. He would have, because if he beat the Legion of Boom probably wouldn't have been the Legion of Boom, and we wouldn't be talking about this today. So we're saying, when you rush guys back, it can have a heavy implication, not just in your own team season, but teams moving forward. The draft, free agency, trades, everything, it matters. Dak Prescott the last 3 years has been injury prone. And I think when you look at his shoulder in 2020, his ankle last year, especially the way he runs, that's a big deal. 2022, it's your thumb. And I believe he was up higher up here because if he was lower down here, that's where he grits the football. And at that point, it's pretty much, I would say 6, 8 to 10 weeks because not because I want the Cowboys to lose or have off the Cowboys. I'll probably be doing that anyways. But obviously, like I said, I don't wish injury upon nobody because I want him to be fully healthy. I want to be wrong about a guy not being good. But the fact is there's only 32 teams, and the fact is all what we're seeing right now is the same thing that the Cowboys saw with Tony Romo. Dak Prescott is Tony, at least for right now, Tony Romo, but mobile. Injury problem. There's always a type of injury year after year after year. The past 3 years. Something keeps nagging. Something keeps like you got your shoulder, which I assume would take a year or so or more because that's a big deal. That could have some heavy implications. You injure that, I mean, your career is pretty much almost over at that point. Then you get your ankle, that hurts your mobility, that hurts your out-of-the-pocket presence. Now, luckily, it's up here, but even then, you look at how Washington played week 1 against Jacksonville, but Carson Wentz is starting to build that confidence. You look at the Giants who had the balls to go for it, unlike a certain puppet for the Houston Texans and Lovie Smith. At some point, you just got to realize where you're at. All Dak Prescott is right now is Tony Romo, but mobile. I'm not here to be hating. I'm not here to say that's an opinion. Like, based on how it consistently, how many games, I will say how many games Dak Prescott missed in 2020. Because I want to make sure that I say the right numbers. But I don't, James, am I that far off to say that at least the past 3 years, all Dak Prescott is Tony Romo, but with one playoff win?
I was gonna say, what I heard, the Black Kirk Cousins.
And so it's just, I don't get the excuses or like, oh, it doesn't matter. How many games did you play? And you played 5 games in 2020. And I think you missed what? Actually, let me look at this real quick. But Dak Prescott has missed a lot of games. And so if we look at that versus like a TJ Watt or others, those are heavy implications, yes. But like you said, they still have Cam Hayward. They still have Kenny Pickett as their backup. They still have Trubisky being a formidable game manager somewhat. They still have Najee Harris. You still have players.
Michael
Now, Fitzpatrick, who made Joe Burrow look like Nathan Peterman. But at the same time, you have Cooper Rush. Now, when you say outside of the offensive line, because that's the most important position in the NFL, you have no offensive line. It's going to affect your defensive play. It's going to affect your whole team. Is the quarterback. Not because it's a pass-friendly league, but as we've seen, 2015, Tony Romo was out. You had, Whedon, Moore, and a couple other guys. You had Alfred Morris on your roster, other guys, and they didn't do anything. And you saw, without your quarterback, regardless of how good your offensive line is, it can only go so far. Not everybody's going to have the situation the Philadelphia Eagles had in 2017, where Nick Foles takes you to the playoffs, wins you the Super Bowl. Next year, Nick Foles nearly goes back and wins you the Super Bowl again. If he did that, he would have been a Hall of Famer. I just don't know what the Cowboys do moving forward, because you know that Jerry Jones is delusional. Jerry Jones is ruining the Dallas Cowboys. So it's unfortunate, man, but Dak Prescott, if I'm looking at it, see if I can find his numbers. Okay. So Dak Prescott in 2020 played 5 games. So he missed 11 games in the past, I can't even say 3 years. And the last, let's not count 2022 because he didn't play a full game. From 2020 to 2021, you missed, let's say, 11 games. That's a lot, especially with your team that's trying to contend, where you could have took advantage. Giants don't have a quarterback. Washington doesn't have a quarterback. So what is the excuse you have now? It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Casey King has a comment before we get into the week 2 games, but he says, good late morning, guys. And also he says about Skip Bayless, he's a schmuck, and he's been a schmuck since his days going back to as a writer for the LA Times. And
it's
if anybody knows, if anybody knows the LA sports and history of that, it's Casey King. I've been able to go with him to, some games and chit chat about the history of stuff, and great guy there, and loyal to the soil of ISIN and other networks that we've been on. He's just been amazing. So now let's get to week 2. I mean, week 1 was just crazy.
They all could punt off. All the characters could just punt off. I'm done.
Yeah. And Rodrigo Blankenship actually did get punted off of the Colts. He was cut after missing a potential game-winning field goal against Houston. The quote nerd kicker is finally gone. He can go off and play with his Legos. Of course, that's what he was known for in college. And I think
don't knock Legos. Those things are to punt or not to punt. I mean, come on.
Choking hazard, Legos.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so week 2 starts off Thursday Night Football. The Chargers at the Chiefs. Now, the Chargers, I think this will make a big impact. Without Keenan Allen, without J.C. Jackson, the corner, who they signed via free agency from the Patriots, without those 2 key guys, it seems like Justin Herbert's going to have to outduel whatever the Chiefs put up offensively. So I still think this will be a shootout, but without Jackson, without Keenan Allen, other guys will have to step up for the Chargers, but I think they'll be one step behind in this game. The Chiefs coming in, they looked like the old selves. They demolished that middle school team, like you mentioned, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals there. He's the height of a middle schooler, by the way. The Chiefs escaped with the win at home, the Chargers escaped with a win in LA over the Raiders, just barely there. But the defense of the Chargers, it will be interesting to see Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa on each side trying to get to Pat Mahomes. He can do anything, it seems like, even without Tyreek Hill. I see this game going to the Chiefs still. I think it'll take a miracle for the Chargers to win this. I mean, a lot of things would have to go right. Offensively, the Chiefs would have to have some slip-ups, and they're not known for that. So I see the Chiefs winning probably in the shootout. I would say probably 45 to, I would say 35. What do you think about the Thursday night game?
This is either going to provoke or expose Justin Herbert. Because we've seen in so many quarterbacks over the years, what made Brady Brady, what made Breeze, and Wilson and so many other guys, is that when your number one guy is out, can you put the team on your back? Are you only putting up those numbers? A Pro Bowl, they all pull type of caliber numbers when everything's going right. Oh, when this football marriage is not going right, Keenan Allen is out. Austin Eckler is the receiving back. Is he going to get a lot more carries? Can that impact how he plays in this game moving forward? Where in terms of his age, how much do they go to use him? So I think that's really going to matter. But this is honestly how Kyler Murray felt last week after the loss. But I just had to throw that in there. It's just a lot of fun. But I really think, though, as we know, it's the next 5-10 years is going to be Herbert Mahomes, and Burrow and in that mix without a shadow of a doubt. Obviously, Herbert has to get to a Super Bowl. But I think when you look at the Chiefs side of this, there's no way you're not going to build on what happened last week. You not only destroyed the Arizona Cardinals, you made them think they should relocate to Vegas. Or no, just delete the team immediately. I don't know, like just a Thanos snap and they're gone. Because this is a guy who they had Hollywood Brown, James Conner, and Zach Ertz, and I believe Max Williams on the roster. And they were up by almost 30 points at home. So if they can destroy the Cardinals in their home stadium, they're going to take advantage of it because, yes, I believe the Chiefs' rookie quarterback is out, but their other rookie defensive player who's really physical, I think, is playing in this game. I can't remember his name at the moment. I think he's like a linebacker, middle linebacker or something. But this guy can really play. So if they can attack Herbert early on, that's going to be great. But this is really going to be dependent on two things for the Chargers. It's going to be their offensive line play and Herbert getting rid of the ball very quick. Because you don't have Keenan Allen to throw to. You can only throw so much to Eckler because then the defense is just going to automatically adjust to Austin Eckler. You don't have, let's just go to Travis Kelce on 3rd and 2nd. You don't have him on 4th and 3rd or 1st and 5. What is Justin Herbert going to do? This is the first outside of that Raiders game in Week 18 last year. Really, truly, the biggest game for him. Not in terms of going to the playoffs or contending for a Super Bowl, but what is Justin Herbert is about? He's a Pro Bowl, All-Pro quarterback. If not, he should be an All-Pro very soon. Is he a fraud? Or is he a guy that when chips are going right, he can play really well? But I have the Chiefs, I would say, because they're going to run the football a lot too now. With Tyreek Hill, I'll say 35-20.
Kansas City?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then also look out for the rookie running back, Isaiah Pacheco. He put up some numbers last week. He was starring in training camp as well. So, and then you throw in some linebackers in there as well. I'm trying to look up the name here, but Nick Bolton, he's one of the good guys there. And then the other guy was Leo Chanel. He's one of the other linebackers that maybe will get some time. I know they signed that veteran.
George Kirk. This is the Chiefs rookie defensive player. Sorry. If I butcher this name, I'm sorry, because I know I'm going to. George Karlaftis. I can't. It's
that's
K-A-R. That's the guy who I was talking about. If the Chargers cannot game plan against him, then you're going to lose this game by more than 15 points.
So Sunday's action, you got Miami at Baltimore, and I think both are interesting coming off wins. Baltimore's home opener. A lot of weapons here on Miami's side. Pretty much Baltimore, you have a couple with Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. Defensively, both teams are pretty solid. Baltimore went out and spent, and they have some great defensive names as well. This game could go either way, honestly. I would have to go with Baltimore, depending on how much they keep, how much Miami tries to keep Lamar in the box, in the pocket. But if he escapes, he makes some plays happens with his feet, gets to Mark Andrews more, Baltimore can win. It would be interesting to see Tua with Tyreek Hill and Waddle. They had that 4th and 7 play that went well against the Patriots for the touchdown. That was awesome to see. For me, I'll go Baltimore, but this seems like a pick 'em to me. Baltimore probably win like 23-20, I would say. What do you think about this game?
I don't think you're going to know who I'm going to pick. I'm picking Miami to win by 4 or 5 points. I think what shows me last week is that, no, it's just one game. We're not here to overreact. And I still have my stance on Tua. Until you'll get to the playoffs and get a couple playoff wins, I still stick with Tua being an average quarterback. That being said, though, I can give credit where credit is due, where the whole team played really well. You're against New England 17-0. Bill Belichick looked like a Blair Walsh as a head coach. Their defense, though, is younger, and they're hungry. The offseason, the 2021 season was filled with so much drama. So many things were happening, about to happen, but it didn't happen. Some of the things that were going to happen were swiped left, and so you were going to have Deshaun Watson. You were going to have Brady and Sean Payton, all these different things. And to be able to collectively come together as a team, you got Tyreek Hill. Like, as much as we want to talk about how, we love to talk about these sexy topics in terms of, certain quarterbacks, Mahomes, Brady, Lamar Jackson, Burrow, and all these other different guys, that we forget that Lamar Jackson has to throw the football. And with Tyreek Hill, Mike Gesicki, with those running with Raheem Mostert, with those guys, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't know if Raheem Mostert is still on the roster for the Dolphins, but they have the better weapons, I feel, on offense. And so I think with their defense, Xavier Howard, you have I don't know if Byron Jones is still there because he used to be in Dallas and he went to Miami, but they have defensive players that can play really, really well. That's the reason why they made the playoffs, or were 10-6 in 2020-2021 season. I just think with all that's going on, Lamar Jackson betting on himself, is there going to be a couple plays in this game or other games this season where, yes, you bet on yourself, but it's like, oh, should I make that throw? Should I make that run? Should I risk it biscuit and risk nearly almost $300+ million? So maybe that's going to be an implication in this game or not. But I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm picking the Miami Dolphins to win this game. Tua on 3rd and 4th down is really going to have to be converted more than 65%. If Tua in this offense cannot convert on key 4th down plays in the 3rd or 4th quarter, then you deserve to lose this game.
It's all on Tua to me. That's what I think. Next game, the Jets, the lowly Jets.
Wait, is this an SNL joke or are you being serious?
The Jets go to the Browns. Jacoby Brissett making his home debut along with Amari Cooper. Well, Browns did win last week in Carolina. Somehow the rookie kicker made a 58-yard field goal to win it. The Jets, by the way, last week at home looked awful. Couldn't get many points on the board. I think just 3. Joe Flacco, for some reason, is still quarterbacking in 2022 as a starter. I mean, he keeps getting these looks, and it's just amazing to me. He's still in the league, honestly. Can't wait for Zach Wilson to come back, but this game, I really don't. I think Cleveland will win. It's going to be a really ugly game, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I don't think Flacco will do well. And I think Cleveland, with their running game, I think it will show up. Jets defense couldn't do much last week, and I think the same thing will happen. So I think Cleveland wins this game pretty easily. Maybe 21-9. I'll say the Browns win. What do you think?
I think, to me, it's more. It's obviously not the most interesting game of the week. No kidding. But I think it's interesting to the point where you have Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Greedy Williams, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, who has been one of the most productive running back almost since 2018. Outside of Todd Gurley, who still has, I believe, the most rushing touchdowns since 2017. Similar, that's kind of 2. And he's been out of the league for a while. Obviously, we know what Jacoby Brissett is. He's average. He's not really much. He's like a
game manager.
He's a game. He's a what's his
Teddy
name? He's the guy that used to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The guy that looked high on the court when he.
J.R. Smith.
He's like the J.R. Smith of quarterback. He's there. He can do some things, but nothing crazy. But defensive wise, it showed last week because I don't think a lot, like some of us definitely picked the Panthers. This is like a big FU game where Baker was like, oh, fluff you, punt off, you can punt off. And obviously they came short, and the only kicker that went punt off was a Browns kicker. So I think if the defense can play better than the lack of production of the offense or the quarterback, of course you're going to win this game. It's Joe Flacco. You got to remind you, short-term Joe Flacco, I believe, was on the Eagles roster in 2020, 2021. So that there's a thing right there, too, people tend to forget. But that's not a good thing. Let me find it. That's not a good thing whatsoever. It's Joe Flacco. But to see Joe Flacco still in the league is, really not interesting. I would hope he retired by now because he's extremely already there. But obviously, it's the Browns, man, because they have a really talented defense. They got a really good running game. As long as Jacoby Brissett can do what Geno Smith did, then I think they'll be just fine. Not in terms of like having a QBR 119.0, but be like a Jimmy G was in 2020 in certain games where you maybe threw 120, 130 yards, had a touchdown, but no picks, and just converted on very short second, third, and potentially fourth down plays. I would say 25 to 21, I guess. Because like I said, it's not going to be a high-scoring game because you have Jacoby Brissett being your franchise quarterback.
Next game, you got Washington going to Detroit. Washington won in dramatic fashion at home. Detroit made a comeback attempt against the Eagles last week. It fell short at home. This game seems intriguing in many ways. I mean, you have two somewhat young teams. You have one coach on the hot seat, one that is really trying to build something within 5 years or less. You wonder if this will be a game Addison Hutchin gets his sacks against Carson Wentz. You wonder also if Washington can do a little better offensively. But this game, again, this seems like one of those even matchups. I really don't know which way to go with this one, John. But for me, I'll say Washington, but this could be a game Detroit surprises everyone and wins. But what do you think about this game, Washington at Detroit?
It's time to bite off some freaking kneecaps, man. I'm picking the Detroit Lions because it's not like this, like you said, despite what some people have said on some shows yesterday or anything, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Your best quarterback you traded to Carolina in the offseason. So, and Washington, Carson Wentz, we know his injury history. So if Aiden Hudson early on can attack that middle ground of the offensive line and get to Carson Wentz early and force him to make throws before he even has time to think, as you saw in 2020 and 2019, then you have, without a doubt, a chance to win this game. You nearly came back and won last week. When we talked about in 2021, Amani St. Brown, okay, who cares? Now he's a Pro Bowl receiver, potentially almost all pro in the next couple of years. Like, that's insane. So I think when you have what Dan Campbell's trying to instill and actually giving a crap about trying to get this team to be better, which most of the head coaches or the Ford family doesn't give a flying football about, I'm going to have to pick Detroit because I think defensive-wise, you still got to give it to Washington. Even with Chase Young being out, you still got some of those guys. But because you think about it, Detroit drafted Jeff Okudah in 2020. We haven't heard much from him since out of Ohio State. He's supposed to be a top 10, top 12 pick. He's been injury-prone, so we can pretty much label him as a bust. When you look at some of the players that Detroit has, nothing is crazy for their defense. But I think the heart and the willingness to play, which I know sounds, that's for every team, but I think the way Detroit's doing it is going to be the reason why they win this game. Aiden Hutchins is going to have to get to Carson Wentz. The running game's going to have to get something. Jared Goff, like he said, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's usually his bread and butter.
Mm-hmm. So next game coming up, you got Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Now, Indianapolis coming off the tie in Houston. Jacksonville coming off the last-minute loss against the Commanders in Washington. Of course, the Colts, they remember Week 18 last year where they lost in Jacksonville, and they got the Raiders into the playoffs and the Colts out. I know they want revenge, but we've seen, even with Matt Ryan, even with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., all that talent, and they still came up short against Houston. It's like a lesson wasn't learned. Jacksonville's young and upcoming. We all know that. They put some money into Christian Kirk. They have Trevor Lawrence, who just seems like he's there. He's not really much of a team leader, but he's there. For me, this game, it should go to the Colts. All the signs point toward that. Jacksonville home opener. I guess anything can happen, but I'm going to go with the Colts. What do you think about this game?
Matt Ryan has Atlanta in his blood, and that's never going to change. The Colts, if I remember correct, I think someone said the Colts haven't beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Right. It's like 2017 and 2018. Which is why I'm going Jacksonville to win this game, because I think if it's been that long and you still can't beat Jacksonville, I tried to tell y'all, all Matt Ryan is Phillip Rivers with less kids and more playoff experience. That's all he is. Like, this is not an opinion. Like, history has shown it. This game showed it. You have scored 3 points. I get kept cutting your kicker because he couldn't punt off the ball into the goal line. But you also have to look at your offense, who couldn't produce horse manure for the first 3 quarters. You tied against the Texans, where their head coach, Lovie Smith, and I stand by this, is a puppet for the Houston Texans organization. There's no head coach in their right mind would do what he did. A coach that's trying to win games that fight for their team, there's no way. But I could be wrong. The Colts are one of the most fraudulent teams this year. Matt Ryan. You seriously gonna think Matt Ryan's taking you to the Super Bowl? Are you serious? Over the Chiefs? Over the Chargers? Over the Bengals? Over say a couple other teams in the league? Over the Ravens potentially? Over Tennessee? No. Okay, maybe Tennessee, but most of all, let me look at all these teams because I want to be as disrespectful. Because if I'm just being honest, like when you traded for him in this game, yes, it's going to be close. It's going to be nothing crazy. But are they going to overtake Buffalo for the Super Bowl?
Mm-mm.
Are they going to overtake the Chiefs for the Super Bowl? Are they going to overtake let's say the Chargers if they're going to do? No. Are you do it with what am I thinking of the other team? The Bengals? No. That's 4 or 5 teams right there. So the Raiders, maybe. Like, I don't know about that. So that's my main point. Why, if you can't outbeat the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals for the Super Bowl, how you going in week 2 against Jacksonville? You'll have to beat That's when you'll have Andrew Luck as your quarterback. And you still couldn't beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to be more hungry in this game. He said they're in a rebuild mode. They have the right head coach in the building. Where the Colts are this weird team where they've had this semi-rebuild where they've been so close, but they haven't finished it. It's like construction in Austin or Dallas or LA. It's almost there, but it just never gets fully finished. That's the Colts. You have the defense. You have the young receivers with Helen being a mentor. You have Jonathan Taylor, but you haven't been able to find that quarterback. Matt Ryan is not a franchise quarterback for the Colts. He would never win a Super Bowl. He would never win a playoff game. And I just don't like. Honestly, I can't see them being Jacksonville. I just see with how you couldn't beat the Texans in their own stadium with what's going on there. Potentially, what more could go on there? You're not beating Jacksonville. I would say 24-18. I'm okay with being wrong about this pick. I'm not a fan of Matt Ryan. He's just not a good quarterback.
Yeah. The next early game on the schedule, you got Tampa Bay at New Orleans. And Tampa Bay, of course, coming off the win against Dallas on Sunday night. New Orleans coming off a comeback win against the Falcons. Maybe the Saints got lucky, but they played Atlanta. And in a way, you can look at Tampa Bay getting lucky for Prescott getting hurt. But he didn't do well when he was in there anyway. That's why I kept hearing during the week. Tampa Bay's defense, you can see maybe there's a little difference from years before. New Orleans their defense still able to not do as well, unable to do well, I should say, but have that comeback ability. You got Michael Thomas there. That's going to be some fun. I know the Saints have had the number of the Bucks for years in the regular season, at least. I'm doing it, John. I'm going against whatever names Brady is, and I'm going to pick the Saints. It should be. I am. I have to.
What?
Now, I did get it wrong where I said by 10. I still want to pick by 10 over this the Bucks here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to say the Saints win 27-17. I think it's a home opener. Everybody's looking forward to sending Brady off for the last time in New Orleans. Yeah, I'm going with the Saints. So what do you think about this game here?
In that famous SpongeBob episode, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? You're betting against Thomas, Brady, Edward, Patrick, Jr. You're telling me with the Saints offense, with the injury-prone Michael Thomas, with Jameis Winston, who had an ESPN special in 2018 or 2019, are you serious? Mike Evans, You're still doubting after 23 seasons. Are you kidding me? Thomas Brady, Edward Patrick Jr. Have people not learned? Has your wallet not been desperate enough? There are tears in your wallet because you bet against Brady. Still, 7 rings later, and you're doubting Tom Brady and the Bucs. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, Mr. Gonzalez? Are you kidding me? Brady, I'm not saying it's not going to be a shootout. We know what the Saints have done against the Bucs the past couple of years. Tampa Bay is going to have a sense of urgency. You saw, yes, you beat Dallas last week. Yes, even with Prescott being out, your offense wasn't playing that well. You shouldn't have rushed Chris Godwin back because of 20 CL takes over a year to be fully healthy. Hopefully, he'll be okay. You still have the running game. Remember, Fournette had 100-plus yards against Michael Parsons and all those guys. I mean, if he could do that against that defense with Michael Parsons, who's a Pro Bowler, what was he thinking they're going to do against the Saints? Like 22 years, and you're still doubting the GOAT, Thomas Brady. How? This is what I don't understand. It's just all good and fun, but Thomas Brady, are you serious? And if it was the Giants in the playoffs, we could have a conversation at that point. But Thomas Brady, Edward Patrick Jr., you're betting against the GOAT. I don't get it. Like, for the Saints, some people, yes, I want Winston to succeed. Some people can say, was it how bad Atlanta was last week? Or was it how good James Winston was? To a certain extent, it was how bad Atlanta was. That they should have rebuilt that defense in Atlanta after that Super Bowl. That defense has been terrible year after year. They've been blowing leads faster than my vacuum does crumbs after I have McDonald's. So I cannot go for the Saints. Tampa Bay 35-32. I think it'd be close. Winston, I think regardless of how I went on my tirade rant, James Winston still has a really good arm. He can still play quarterback in this league. Now, whether it's with the Saints, I don't know, because he's not going to have that many chances after this year. So he has to ball out, because you go after this year, and 2, it works out in Miami, potentially with what could happen there. There's not that many chances, so I think this is going to have to be his team, or he's going to have the same career as Sam Darnold, where he's going to be a career backup. But I cannot and will never, ever bet against Tom Brady. Not in this game. No way, no how. And when this game is over next week, I'm coming in with my victory cigar. I want a public apology, a 30-page essay. I'm just kidding, it's all good.
I don't even have paper.
So you have to handwrite it in cursive with one of those little feathers and back it like they did. So I want a public apology, and I expect. Man,
how do you make the cursive Z again?
It's cursive. Honestly, I don't know. I like when you sign your signature on a check or not even say anything. I just go like a toddler writing. Like nobody actually cares about signatures. Are pointless now. But I can't bet against Brady. I expect a victory cigar. I expect a public apology, a 30-page essay, and to say, John Michael Alcorn, I was wrong. But it's all good and fun. That's what makes it folks, it's all good and fun. We tease each other, but it's all good and fun.
Oh, yeah. I'll probably be wrong again. I just wanted to get that reaction from you.
I was wrong about the Broncos game. I was wrong about what was another game that happened? I was wrong about my Bengals game. So it was a tough week. But Thomas Brady, Edward Patrick Jr., there is no way I can bet against them. No way.
Got to keep track of those names.
Now, if it was against Miami, I could maybe see that because of all that's happened this offseason with him potentially going to Miami with Sean Payton. I could see that.
Maybe. Next game, Carolina and the Giants. It's Giants home opener. Carolina trying to bounce back from their narrow loss. I know Baker Mayfield was mad. You saw some things from Robbie Anderson. And then the Giants going for it on 4-2 and getting it barely with Saquon Barkley. I have a feeling they're going to ride that momentum But they have to stop Robbie Anderson. That's going to be the toughest thing. Giants, they're not known for their defense really anymore. That used to be their bread and butter. Now it's just Saquon and Shepard. There's not a lot in this game to be looking at, but I'm going to risk it, and this might hurt. But I think the Giants win maybe by a field goal, maybe like 24-21. I feel like Robbie Anderson's going to go off and Baker Mayfield as well. But I have to believe somehow, some way the Giants win. I just have a horrible gut feeling that the Giants win this. What do you think about Carolina at the Giants?
If Baker Mayfield couldn't beat the Browns with Jacoby Brissett, I'm picking the Giants because at least, even if they lose, the Giants have the guts to go for it when it doesn't seem the smartest. Because so many young coaches that he's seen over the years in the league, they always rely heavily on analytics. 4th and 2, what's their probability? Well, guess what? There's a 30% probability I'm going to take a dump in 2 hours. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. And so I give the Giants credit for last week. If you have the guts, just do that. When it seemed really stupid, and you beat Tennessee, who somehow someone sees them as a contender, but they're only a contender because of how terrible that division is. That's the NFC least of the AFC. I'm picking the Giants to win this game because we know what's going to happen after the season with Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley or Shepard, who Kenny Galladay, who literally went to the Giants and stole $30, $40+ million or so from where he used to be in Detroit. But I'll have to pick the Giants to win this game. I think last week, yes, they didn't play the greatest, and Saquon made some really good runs. And my still issues with Saquon is that as a running back is where he will have like 8 carries for 25 yards, and he'll bust 1 or 2 for like 30 or 40. But based on how the big guts they had last week to go for it against a team like Tennessee, then they're going to do that against Carolina. I mean, I woke up this morning feeling dangerous, and I'm picking the New York Giants to win this game by 3 points. I would say 25-22.
I guess I did too. Some comments coming in. I was, of course, looking at other stuff, but shout out to Ben Cruz. He's a really good guy. Seen him on other shows, comments in. He says, "What's up, guys? This is going to be a fire football season." I think so. Casey King as well mentions, "I'm going to go with the Chiefs in the shootout." That's expected. And then Casey King also mentioned, "Colts had to settle for a tie with the Texans. That is pathetic. Colts at best win their division, but that's it. They're a first-round exit." And that could be the case with Matt Ryan there. Next game, New England at Pittsburgh, and it just seems like New England, sorry to Ben Cruz, this seems like their downfall year. It seems like Miami might overtake them, not for the division, but for a possible chance of the wild card. It's very unfortunate, but every team goes through this, and what you're seeing with some talent leaving New England and whatnot, that's going to be unfortunate. Pittsburgh, you start Mitchell Trubisky. You have Najee Harris. He is banged up, but he's ready to go. That's going to be interesting to see how he runs and then how the receivers do well there in Pittsburgh in this game. Defense might get after Mac Jones very well, so that's going to be interesting to see. I have this game probably in a rout. I'm not going to give a score. I just think it's going to be a rout over the Patriots. What do you think about this game? You picked the Giants, right? The last game?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, who do you think? New England and Pittsburgh?
It's going to be Pittsburgh. I think that defense is better than New England's. I understand Najee Harris said that he'll play, may not be getting like 20, 30 carries for $125 and 3 or 4 touchdowns. But again, they could use him in the red zone also while he heals up, he gets better, feels healthy, or is healthy. New England, you lost against Tua 17-0 at halftime against the Dolphins. If you can't beat Tua, who the verdict is still out on him, just like with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. How are you gonna beat them? Like it doesn't make sense. I can't pick the Patriots to win this game because the Patriots. I mean, dude, I just had the biggest brain fart. Who were they playing again? I was just talking in my brain.
The Patriots?
Yeah, Patriots versus. I was talking and then my brain just completely. So, well, it was a Patriots versus who again?
Dolphins.
Dolphins. Yeah, if you can't be, well, it can't be Patriots versus Dolphins.
Last week it was.
Yeah, it was but not this week.
Oh yeah, it's Steelers.
Steelers outside my brain is like this is why I'm glad I have a co-host because my brain thinks of football, thinks of something random from 20 years ago, and I forget. But if you can't beat Tua, and like their offense had no production, almost 100 yards for nearly the whole game? Are you serious? If you can't beat Tua, Ryan Fitzpatrick made Joe Burrow look like Nathan Peterman. Made him look like he really. I'm sorry, I'll call it what it is. I'm a Bengals fan. I'm a diehard Joe Burrow fan, but I can't deny that you made Joe Burrow look like Blaine Gabbert. So I think that's it. And Nathan Peterman combined. So I'm picking the Steelers to win this game by close defense loss. Look what the Miami Dolphins did. Look at what the Miami Dolphins did against New England and their offense line and their whole offense. Imagine that, but with the Steelers. Steelers by 4.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, next game is the first of the later afternoon games. The Falcons go to the Rams. The Falcons trying to bounce back from choking up the game against the Saints last week in their dramatic fashion that they do. The Rams try to come back from their disappointing opening night with the the banner ceremony and whatnot, letting the Bills just run all over them, basically. I think the Rams bounce back. It all comes down to Matthew Stafford and how his elbow is supposedly doing. They got to get the running game going. Defensively, they have to do better, especially Jalen Ramsey. Aaron Donald, I will think, will get some sacks if Mariota is still in the pocket. I think Mariota will have a tough day. They have to get Kyle Pitts more involved. He wasn't involved too much in that game last week against the Saints. For the Rams, I would think this would be a banner day, so I'm going to go with the Rams over the Falcons. What do you think?
Jalen Ramsey last week basically had in his head what Gordon Ramsay said. What are you, an idiot sandwich? An idiot sandwich because the way you played on the field and how you look like burnt toast, how I burnt my Pop-Tarts in the toaster. This is what I have to say about Atlanta. While Marcus Mariota is mobile, he's slow. He doesn't have a great arm. Unlike Justin Herbert, who has a phenomenal arm, Mariota's not going to win you games with his arm, really with his legs. He had his best game was his first game in 2015. Like 12 to 16 or so, 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. And he had a good year in 2017, 2018, nearly 3 for 4,000 yards. You're in Atlanta. You're facing off against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Even if they played a little bit similar to last week, you think AJ Terrell you think Grady Jarrett is going to outplay Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and that defensive core? There's no way. We think Matthew Stafford has an average game. That defense is that talented that they can take over games when the offensive production isn't there. Like I said, whether the status or how good or how hurt Matthew Stafford is with his elbow, the defense is just that talented. The Falcons don't have an offensive line. So you're going to see Aaron Donald get 3 or 4 sacks. You're going to see Jalen Ramsey pick off Marcus Mariota at least once or twice in this game. Because if Marcus Mariota can't win you over with his arm, Jalen Ramsey is going to take advantage of that. He's going to pick you off. Aaron Donald's going to be in the middle. You got defensive players down the field. So they're going to win this game. I'd say that more than 15 or 20 points because
No doubt about it.
it's Atlanta. I feel like Oprah owns the Atlanta Falcons. Here, you get a win. She's the owner and facing off against the opponent. Here, you get a win. You get a win. You get a win because that's what they've been doing. I don't know what it is in Atlanta. No matter who you put in as head coach, no matter who's your coordinator, even with Dan Quinn as your defensive coordinator, no matter who your quarterback is, no matter if you have Julio Jones or you had Tony Gonzalez, no matter if you had anybody, you still keep blowing leads. I don't understand it. Usually with team stance, you can put it to one or two specific things. But the Falcons, there really isn't anything. There's a wide variety of different things. Maybe they should just not have the team in Atlanta, or just disband it from the league and have 31 teams because they're just that bad. I'm sorry. They're a fraudulent team. Bucks win that division. The Falcons are losing this game, and yeah, I'm using the F word. I'm not picking the Atlanta Falcons to win this game. They're going to lose. They're going to lose against the Rams. I mean, Cooper Kupp. Drake London was a first-round pick. Kyle Pitts was a first-round pick. And you're not utilizing those guys? They're using Cooper Kupp even before he got that contract. Remember, he's a third-round pick. Guys laughed at him saying he was going to be in the playoffs in the NFL. So he's going to win the Super Bowl. Drake London's a first-round – those guys are first-round picks, and you didn't target them in week one. Kyle Pitts has to have at least 5 to 10 catches for almost 100 yards. If you're drafting guys that high, especially at the tight end position, which is really risky nowadays with Drake London, especially when the Falcons don't have a franchise long-term answer at the quarterback position, you're going to have to target those guys early because it's not like you're going to wow them with your running game. You don't have that target early 1 year. You don't have Devontae Freeman, whose best year was the year before they went to the Super Bowl. So you're going to have to target them early on, but if the defense adjusts, get Marcus Mariota up the middle, it's going to be a very long game for the Falcons. I picked the Rams to win this game by over 15 points.
Okay, Seattle at San Francisco. Now, Seattle coming off their Super Bowl win in week one over Russell Wilson coming back. San Francisco had that slip and slide game in Chicago. They couldn't be themselves or what they tried to be, honestly. So I'm going to give San Francisco a pass on that. You might not like that. But I'm gonna give the slight edge here to San Francisco. I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll show what they can do. Debo can do his thing, and then get everybody else involved. I wonder if Kittle will be available, but yeah, I'm gonna go San Francisco here. What do you think about Seattle and San Francisco, this divisional game?
I think San Francisco is in that weird position that they're almost like the Colts, where they have the defense, they have the receivers, they're almost putting everything together. Like the construction in Houston and Austin, it's almost there. It never truly finishes. And Trey Lance, from what we hear, is underwhelmed him. They got to keep, because if you really believe, if Trey Lance was your guy right now, Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't be on the roster. Am I wrong to feel that on that way, James? If Trey Lance, if you are confident in him as your starting franchise quarterback, who you traded 3 first-round picks, that guy who only had 13 games in college, I can't pick San Francisco because I'm not saying because Seattle didn't have their quarterback either. It's Geno Smith. I know he bought out last week, all that, but I'm sorry, but you lost against Chicago. You can't give me an excuse for that blown coverage in the third quarter. The Chicago had almost no points at that point. You give a wide open pass for the first down. All Justin Fields had was Mooney. You can say the weather, whatever, but all he has is Mooney, and they won the football game. And he had a bust too. I'm not even sure if he's even playing or if he's still hurt because he came in from New England to kill Harry. So I think if you can't beat Chicago in that weather, which yes, it is a tough game. I go back to a game in 2020 where they played Washington. They didn't play that well. I think they won, but it was a really, really ugly game. But now you have Trey Lance. Who's going to play? Clearly, we talked about this past episode where, Jimmy Garoppolo to the Cowboys. It makes sense for the Cowboys. But then the Niners won't trade him because they're not fully 100% confident in Trey Lance. So Trey Lance hasn't developed. Jimmy Garoppolo, what's going to happen with him? I'll pick Seattle. I think it'll be an ugly game. Because, like you say, for both sides at the quarterback position, it's not going to be anything special. It's not going to be anything pretty. It's not anything that's going to wow you. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to wow you with his arm. Geno Smith is not going to throw the deep ball down the field. Yes, they got weapons. Remember, Eli Mitchell was supposed to be their star running back for the season. He's out for multiple games, if not the season. So now one of your star players supposedly is out. Ayuk, Debo, where were those guys last week? Like, I get to a certain extent the rank, I can give you some leverage on that. But at least get open. While they get catchable, get open. But if you don't have the quarterback, it doesn't matter. I'll pick Seattle, but I just want to be wrong. I just can't pick because I just part of me you can say I'm a Trey Lance hater, but I don't even say it's Trey Lance hater. I'm just going by what we see, James. Yeah. If they were confident in Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo would have been gone this offseason.
Yeah. This game is probably near and dear to your heart. Cincinnati going to Dallas. Now we know Dallas will be without Prescott. Cooper Rush will be starting. I know a lot of people do not have confidence in Cooper Rush after he came in. Cincinnati trying to bounce back from their kicker, Evan McPherson, losing them a possible chance to win the game. I think Joe Burrow's trying to show better. I think the interesting matchup will be Jamar Chase if he's being guarded by Diggs. We'll see how that runs. T. Higgins, I forget. We'll see if he's able to play. We still have Boyd, still have the running game, and we'll see if Parsons can maybe get into Burrow some. I'm going to go Cincinnati. I still think it will be an interesting game, no doubt about it. If Dallas can score some points defensively, that's really going to help in their chances. But I'm going to go Cincinnati. What do you think about this game in Dallas?
All I got to say, Dallas. How about them Cowboys? You're losing against Cincinnati this weekend. Pooper Rush, because you're going to play like horsemen, or you're going to play like poop. There's a reason why you were on the practice squad. There's a reason why. It's not because you're a Pro Bowl or you're a winner. Like, seriously, you still have Joe Mixon. You still have Boyd. You still have Jamar Chase. Because you talk about Diggs, yeah, he's like the Kirk Cousins, but at the quarterback position. You get a lot of yards or get a lot of interceptions, but you give up a lot of yards. Kirk Cousins has a lot of passing yards or potential touchdowns, but those risky interceptions, man, come on, what are you doing? So, obviously, it's the Bengals. There's no way. I know Michael Irvin's going to pick him because he's delusional Cowboys fan. That's how some Cowboy fans are, absolutely delusional. You cannot tell me Cooper Rush. I'm not calling him Cooper Rush. He has not earned that title. He's not a quarterback in this league. You're telling Cooper Rush is going to play formidable. You have Tony Pollard. You have the other player that had that. I can't remember his name at the moment. Who had a kick return touchdown in the week 3 of the NFL preseason. You're telling me Cooper Rush versus Joe Burrow. That's like Patrick Mahomes versus Blaine Gabbert. Who gives a flying anything? Who cares? Bengals are winning by over 15 to 20. I'm sorry, because like with Dak Prescott being out, James, you're going to have to rely heavily on the running game. When you're relying heavily on the running game, that runs down the clock. That gives the Bengals offense a lot more rest off the field. Mm-hmm. Jamar Chase, if they can't cover it, which I don't know how they can, not only for that confidence in Jamar Chase, but also Parsons will get a sack or two. I have no doubt because the Bengals offensive line is highly questionable. But Joe Burrow can get that ball off early. Even when they lost against the Steelers, they were coming back potentially in that game despite throwing 4 interceptions. So this game is a bounce-back game for the Bengals. This is not going to bite me in the butt. The Cowboys are not winning this game. I am not. There's no way. You know what? Hey, if the Cowboys win, which they won't, this Christmas I will buy myself a Dak Prescott jersey. Because there's no way, no how, Dallas Cowboys are winning this game. Bengals, you gotta take advantage this week. It's almost like when the Tennessee Titans or other team was playing the Jets last year. They didn't take advantage of it, and they got cocky, and they lost against the Jets. So I'm picking the Bengals. Obviously, to win this game by over 10 to 15 points because, I mean, while the Cowboys may have the better running attack, they're not going to take advantage of that. You're really not. Dak Prescott's out. What type of offense are you going to do? Because you have to implement a new offense on the fly. That takes a long time. It's not like when you have a new save on Madden, you implement a new offense because there's always going to be glitches in Madden. There's not glitches in real life. We're not in the Matrix here. So Cowboys are going to lose 0-2 for the Dallas Cowboys this week. They're going to play like poo.
Okay, Houston at Denver. Now, Houston coming off the tie, which maybe feels like a win. Their first place in their division, the AFC South, if you want to call it first place. Denver coming off that shocking loss in Seattle. I think Denver will bounce back and really show why they paid Russell Wilson what they did. What was it, $275 million? It just seems like maybe they'll get all the stars aligned and they'll do well. Houston never really does well on the road, of course, or at home either, but more on the road.
Yeah, because remember, you're right, Chance.
Just saying. So I think Denver wins this pretty easily. I'm not going to go through much of it. I already did. What do you think about Houston at Denver?
We've seen when an owner wants to control his head coach. You saw it with the Eagles, and that's why that relationship went sour real quick. I bet you Harry Resort did not want Carson Wentz. Point is now with the Texans, Lovie Smith is another puppet. And it could be even the dumbest head coach in football wouldn't have done what Lovie Smith did last week. Denver. Javonte, I know last week they played terrible, 2 goal line fumbles. But who do the Texans have on defense? Like you said, the Texans can barely win at home. They can't win away. You're talking Davis Mills, who has a giraffe neck, versus Russell Wilson. It's not even a conversation. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy can get a couple passes here and there. Cornside can get a couple passes here and there. That defense has to step up, and they're going to step up. The Texans, they're not even – I barely even count them a team in the National Football League. They're a travesty. They're a joke. How many – have they been to an AFC championship game in their existence? No. So there's no way the Broncos are losing this game. There is absolutely no way. I predict the Broncos win this game. You're going to see that one-punch duo. Like you said, I wouldn't even call it like a revenge game because that was last weekend. I would say that was revenge of the Smith because it's Geno Smith versus the actual movie title. But Denver, this is going to be an easy to capitalize win because you look at how the Texans are rebuilding. They got a lot of one-year deal guys last year. Defense, one of those guys is already gone, especially with the quarterback draft class next year. And Marlon Mack didn't make the cut. It's going to be another tough game for this team. I think you're going to see Texans go 1-1. Jacksonville wins. And it's Denver at Denver. There's no way, no how the Broncos are losing this game.
Okay, next game is Arizona at the Raiders in Las Vegas. Arizona, well, let's just say they didn't look too well against the Chiefs. They play a lesser opponent with the Raiders here. Raiders trying to bounce back. They almost came back against the Chargers in LA there in week 1. I'm trying not to get too overconfident, but when you see a team like the Cardinals come in and play poorly as they did last week, and you see a team like the Raiders with some potential, I guess you have to say, hey, something's going to give. And I know Chandler Jones, the former Cardinal, he's going to want to show out, and maybe he'll get a couple of sacks. He was with the Cardinals previous years. I think the offense will get going well with the Raiders. Hopefully the running game will be better. I know they're without their backup, so someone else has to come in. I think the Raiders will win this pretty easily. I know nothing is ever easy, especially with the Raiders. But I'm going to go with the Raiders winning this pretty handily. I just don't. Connor having Devon over that Cardinals secondary, but hopefully Waller and Renfro get involved. Hopefully I don't keep saying that too often. Raiders need this bounce back game. I'm hoping for that as well. Hopefully they win. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But okay, what do you think? Cardinals Raiders in Las Vegas, John.
In the famous words of Charles Woodson, Raiders! The Cardinals are going to lose this game. If you can't even put if you can't have a formidable loss at home, you're losing by nearly 30 points at home. You're going to lose against the Raiders. And like you said, it's really important though. Like, you can't be over reliant on attitude. That's not you repeating yourself or being annoying. I think it's so true. Because as you saw with the Rams and Cooper Kupp last week, even with the Stafford elbow injury, or Carr doesn't have an injury, you have Jacobs. You have the better running back. Not just to say better. You don't need better because that's not like a bad point. You have multiple running backs who can get the job done. You have a tight end. You have multiple really, really good receivers. And then you have an elite receiver in Devontae Adams. The Cardinals have, what, a 5-foot toddler as their quarterback? I'm sorry. Kyler Murray is not going to win you a playoff game. Because when we look back at this season and they don't make the playoffs, someone's going to get fired. Because you had to pay him all that money. But I'm picking the Raiders because there's no ever, Levin, anything way the Cardinals will win this game. Carr and Kyler Murray, maybe similar. Excuse me, I've been farting all day and burping. But the Cardinals, though, Kyler Murray. Actually, I want to even embarrass him even more. I'm going to look at Kyler Murray's stats from last week because you can't have the excuse they didn't have DeAndre Hopkins. You traded a first-round pick for Hollywood Brown. You have Max Williams. You have Zach Ertz, James Conner. Kyler Murray's stats last week. He averaged 193 yards for 2 touchdowns, no picks. All right, that's not bad. But when you pay a guy, James, that much money, you're expecting more than 193 passing yards or 2 touchdowns. You expect to spread the ball around. That's what we saw against Buffalo when they played the Rams last week. They were spreading the ball around. They weren't just spreading the ball around. They were spreading the ball around to different receivers quickly. You saw what Gabriel Davis and Isaiah McKenzie did last year. You can get them more involved in the offense. I'm picking the Raiders, not because you're here, James, and it's all good and fun, but I have no faith in Arizona to make the play. I have San Francisco getting the playoffs over them because of that defense. Chandler Jones, who is a future first-round Hall of Famer, from 2012 to 2019, he had 12.5 sacks, which is, I believe, more than Khalil Mack after a certain amount of time. That's neither here nor there. So we do our research here. If y'all don't agree, you can punt off. But I don't pick the Cardinals to win this game at all. I just think with so many distractions, and Call of Duty's coming out in November, so Call of Duty season, babes, yas, he's not going to be focused. And there's no problem with playing Call of Duty. Let me make that very clear. Call of Duty can be really fun. I like just shooting random, just play. It's fun. It's a good game. But you see this every year, and I wonder, where is this going to be like an early season collapse or mid to late season collapse? Because sooner or later it's going to happen. Did it in 2020. It happened in 2020. Last year, you lost against Detroit. And I'm pretty sure you did or did not have DeAndre Hopkins. Hollywood Brown, Zach Ertz, James Conner. You don't have a chance. I'm picking the Raiders to win this football game. It's had to, man. That was super catchy.
Okay, the rivalry that's been around forever, Chicago and Green Bay there on Sunday Night Football. To me, this doesn't seem like a rivalry. I mean, Chicago hasn't been worthy of it. I know they won last week. It was in their elements. Green Bay coming off their loss against Minnesota in Minnesota against the Vikings. And I just knew this was going to happen. There was going to be so many looks toward the sideline with Aaron Rodgers or close-ups on the field of him. He was getting very frustrated with his young receivers and even Randall Cobb.
Watson, you had that wide open.
Yeah, Christian Watson had the drop. Is this going to be an ongoing thing with Rodgers? I mean, are we going to keep looking at him? Of course, he's the face of the team probably, so of course we're going to look at him. But I think the Packers can bounce back. They have to get the running game going. The thing is the Bears defense with Smith, Jackson, guarding the secondary, which he got a pick. He hasn't had a pick in forever, and he finally got a pick last week. They're going to have to do well on the ground for the Packers to win on the ground. But the Bears, whatever Justin Fields found with that confidence last week, he's got to parlay that to this week. But the Packer defense, I know as bad as it looked and as much as Justin Jefferson got wide open a couple of times.
On the touchdown.
Yeah. You would expect the Packer defense to be embarrassed, feel embarrassed after that, and do better against the Bears. So I'm gonna go with the Packers. It won't be as easy as previous years, but I think they still get the win. What do you think about Green Bay hosting Chicago?
More media members need to talk and say it like it is. Aaron Rodgers is toxic in that organization. He's held the hostage by the throat. He's being a bully. Because I don't get like a bunch of these like kiss asses in the media like giving Rodgers passes. If you're so great, evenly distribute the football. I'll give you that one or two plays where Christian Watson had the wide open touchdown. I thought, oh gosh, Christian Watson's gonna get that touchdown right there, James. He's gonna get that big catch, and the Packers are back. The problem is Aaron Rodgers gets so I don't even say defensive, he gets so relaxed or overconfident. Oh, this is the first couple weeks of the season. You should be more focused on that. Because come playoff time, you're non-existent like Terrell Pryor's quarterbacking career. Enough with the excuses with Rodgers. He is toxic in that organization, and they would have been better off without him. I'm sorry. Like, this is not just the Aaron Rodgers rant. I'm just saying it like it is. I'm picking Chicago. I can't, it just shows, like, no matter how good Aaron Rodgers is, even though he's really, really not that great. They haven't made a Super Bowl. That head coach had a six worst ranked offense in Tennessee, bringing that to a guy who hadn't won a Super Bowl in nearly 10 years is somehow going to win the Super Bowl. Definitely stupid at that point. But I'm picking Chicago. I think he said that confidence last week, that was a thing that Mitchell Trubisky didn't have in Chicago for many reasons. You forgot to call him on draft night. You had to turn off the TVs because he was getting really sensitive. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I heard. So I'm not going to assume it's true until I go to the source. So that's just how we do it here. If you all can punt off, it's all good and fun. But I do pick Chicago, though, because while this season, I wouldn't call it a throwaway. It's going to be a learning opportunity to where you're going to see how the offense does how the offense does week by week is going to determine how they approach the offseason with $130+ million against the cap. Chicago's going to be really good in 2023, and in the next couple of years, they could be a Super Bowl contender. Maybe. But for this game, I'm picking Chicago because at least with Justin Fields, he can evenly distribute the football. He can get the ball down the field. What did Rodgers do? Outside of those few plays, we'll give him a pass. He got sacked how many times? 3 or 4 times. Like, Harrison Smith picked him off. If that's the case, of Jackson, who hadn't had a pick since 2020, thank you for pointing out, who had his pick this last week. That confidence, that fun, that swagger is going to carry Chicago to win by 3 points in this game. I'll say Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are a fraud. I don't know why anyone would be shocked by that. What have the Packers done since 2011, 2012? Again, I'm not putting it all on Rodgers, but for this game, I'm going to pick Chicago. I can see it going to Green Bay, but I'm picking Chicago in this game by 3.
So we have a Monday night doubleheader for some reason. And yeah, one starts at 4:15 Pacific time, the other at 5:30 Pacific time. ESPN and ABC. They did this, I think, last year or the year before. I can't remember, but they were just experimenting with, different games, seeing if it would work, and I don't really like it. But anyway, Tennessee at Buffalo. Tennessee coming off that loss against the Giants. It seems like Ryan Tannehill is being more exposed, especially without the talent. I think we keep saying that. Buffalo looked like they could be Super Bowl champions last Thursday. They've had a long time off since last Friday, so they looked really good. And I think the good times continue for Buffalo. I think not only does Von Miller destroy Tannehill and that offense, unless Henry goes off, I think they completely demolish the Buffalo Bills, and everybody will be quickly tuning in to the next game that's going to come up and the last game. I think the Bills win this game. I think 45-17. What do you think?
Tennessee is a one-dimensional offense. They're like that one girl you're interested in middle school or high school. Like, okay, they're attractive, but other than that, there's really not much there. That's the Tennessee Titans offense. Once you start Derrick Henry, which a lot of teams do, I'm sorry, he's a phenomenal player, he's a future Hall of Famer, but this team, the way their offense is set, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. I'm sorry to break your achy, breaky heart. If you know who that is, congrats. You're over the age of 30. But I think when you look at this team time and time again, you're over-relying at the running back position, and that's going to harm you. Buffalo had a great win last week. They picked up Matthew Stafford a couple of times. Josh Allen in this team, while Josh Allen turns up like turnovers, it was kind of very rocky. But Josh Allen is a physical quarterback. He can throw the ball. He can run. And you see how it's not just going to be like in this game and last week and moving forward, where it's not just Allen to Diggs. It's Allen to Kraft to Diggs to McKenzie to Gabriel Davis. You saw it, like I said, Gabriel Davis and Isaiah McKenzie did in the playoffs, even though they lost, how they had those multiple key catches, those touchdowns right there. That really opens up their entire offense for the Buffalo Bills against Tennessee, because Tennessee, like I said, they're like the Colts, where I know I can't say it for another team. There's 3 or 4 teams like that, where they put some of the pieces around them. Jerome Casey, you traded to Denver 2 years ago, and that didn't work out. He got injured, and Denver released him, rightfully so. This is his business. But Tennessee just doesn't have that quarterback. Ryan Tannehill had a chance to revamp his career, and it didn't work. I'm picking Tennessee to lose this game. I think they'd be lucky to score 20 points, like you said. Robert Woods, older, injury prone, maybe like a third ballot, maybe Hall of Famer, maybe. That's stretching it there.
Yeah.
But other than that, once you stop Henry, they're going to go for Woods. But you got a young rookie receiver. You don't know what he's about, what his skill set is. But Buffalo's winning this game. You got Michael Hyde, Tre'Davious Wright, Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver, Von Miller, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. It just gets, like DJ Khaled says, another one, and it just keeps happening. I'm picking Buffalo to win this game. I would say 42-20, but I'm the worst person literally to do score predictions.
Okay, and then our last game coming later on that day for some reason, you got Minnesota and Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia coming off that win that they just held on with Detroit. Minnesota taking the win easily in Green Bay. This game, it seems like the best game of the week to me, just because both offenses are so dynamic. You would hope so. A.J. Brown coming over. You have a tale of 2 quarterbacks who have targets on them with Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. Again, only won 1 playoff game. You have Jalen Hurts, who's really trying to establish himself not only as a starter, but as a quarterback that's up and coming and still young. So I think on national spotlight, both teams will feel the pressure, but both teams will show out. There's no doubt about that. For me, I think the Vikings win. I've been having a tough time with this game ever since I saw the schedule come out Monday. Or no, I'm sorry, last night when I was looking at, or 2 nights ago when I was looking at the schedule, or Monday night, whenever it was. And that was a one game I was like, John, I don't know who to pick, man. I like both. I like the direction that both are going. I know it's after week 1, but I give the slight edge to Philadelphia. I think maybe Harrison Smith will have a good game. That revamped on both sides of the ball. When you think about the Vikings, they're both revamped. You got a young defense, but then you have what should be an elite offense. On the other side, you have the same thing. So it's kind of, man, you go back and forth. It's like you can't lose with either. But I'm going to go with the Vikings sneaking out of Philadelphia to win this game, and I'm hoping I get that right. But I think it'll be a great game. What do you think about Minnesota at Philadelphia?
We talk about riding the coattails of things of the past. That's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. I think look what they did against a Hall of Fame quarterback, future Hall of Fame because he's still in the league. Look what they did against Aaron Rodgers. They sacked him multiple times. Harrison Smith picked him up. If you can get in Aaron Rodgers' head, which is really hard to do because at least, like, for the most part, I guess, he keeps his composure, but he saw pissed off on the sidelines. If you could do that against Rodgers, I understand the Eagles have the better weapons than the Packers do, but again, like I said, the verdict is still out on Jalen Hurts. Can he be that guy? Week by week is going to be harshly mattered more than it would as other guys who would very protect their legacy in the league as a starting quarterback. But I'm picking Minnesota. I think they have the better defense. Yes, a little bit is getting older, but they're obviously supposedly win now. Not saying they're going to win a playoff game, but for this game specifically, the Eagles nearly blew a lead to the Lions. A team that's not going to make the playoffs, but they'll get like a 9-8 or 8-9, like a decent amount of wins and losses. If you barely won against Detroit, we're going to do as a team like Kirk, Justin Jefferson, Jalen. Remember, the Eagles are facing off against their former receiver who didn't really play that well, but Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, Alex Madison, Harrison Smith, a couple other players on defense. They have the guys. So, honestly, it's going to be a really interesting game. I think this game, if Jalen Hurts can't play well against this type of defense, honestly, man, it wouldn't matter if he played that well because, this NFC East or NFC least is pretty much wide open week by week with Dak Prescott injury. But I pick Minnesota to win by 5.
To me, that NFC least or East, as you mentioned it, it's now the Eagles to lose. To me, if Dak Prescott's going to lose some time like this, you really don't know what's going to happen, honestly. But John, it's been an amazing show. It's moving time for me. There's a possible chance I might be at the Rams game against the Falcons. I might go. But overall, what is your thoughts on final thoughts on week 2, and what surprises do you think we'll see really quick?
Like I said, this show has been a really fun, a lot of fun to the first 3 episodes. Thomas Brady, Edward Patrick Jr. But like Ben said, this is going to be a fire football season. If week 1 is an indication of week 2 and beyond, I can't wait. But despite what Leon said, I would kick your you-know-what Madden, but thank you for tuning in. We were Casey King. Isaiah, what I will do to you to Madden is what Stephon Diggs did to Jalen Brands in week 1. But that's neither here nor there. Thank you, Casey King, to Ben Cruz, of course, for tuning in. We want y'all can tune in to their shows. But we thank you all so much for the support. You, James, and myself, the Callan, the Casey King, the Ben, you all can punt off. We'll see you later. they can't beat the Rams both times this season, how are they going to win a division?
Would be interesting if that happened. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he was sacked 5 times. I said, I think Brady's going to crumble.